I'm from Romania, the sixth largest member of the European Union by population. Despite being surrounded by mostly Slavic nations, Romanians speak a dialect of Vulgar Latin, which started separating from Western Romance languages in the 5th century. Romanian has evolved from fewer than 2,500 words to a lexicon of over 150,000 words in its contemporary form by demonstrating a high degree of lexical permeability. Over centuries, Romanian borrowed from the indigenous Thraco-Dacian, as well as the languages of various nations that ruled over parts of Romania, such as Russian, Greek, Hungarian, German, Turkish, or languages that served as cultural models during and after the Age of Enlightenment, in particular French, Italian, and English. Today, there are over 25 million speakers of Romanian around the world, and yet, for many AI researchers, it is considered a low-resource language. This may surprise you because the term low-resource language immediately brings up the image of an isolated community with thousands of speakers living somewhere in the global south and not an entire country with tens of millions of people communicating in a language directly derived from Latin. A new paper presented this week by researchers from MBZUAI and UC Berkeley at the EMNLP conference in Miami explains why Romanian can be considered low-resource, albeit for different reasons to Cherokee, for example, a language spoken by 2,000 people in the United States. The paper reasons that the relationship between low and high-resource languages can be best understood through Zeno's paradox of Achilles and the tortoise. Imagine Achilles forever pursuing a slow-moving tortoise. The tortoise has been given a head start, but despite his speed, Achilles can never quite reach the tortoise because the distance between them can be infinitely subdivided, implying Achilles would require an infinite number of steps to catch the tortoise. This paradox represents a metaphor for the perpetual struggle of low-resource languages to catch up to the ever-moving target set by well-resourced counterparts like English or Chinese. Historically, low-resource languages have been defined in a binary way by putting them in direct contrast with high-resource languages in terms of data availability. However, this approach oversimplifies the reality that resourceness sits on a spectrum that is also influenced by critical socio-political and cultural dimensions. Criteria for labeling languages as low-resource range from the number of speakers and available linguistic resources to economic conditions and digital presence. For example, while Quechua is spoken by millions, it is still considered low-resource due to its lack of linguistic data and infrastructure for AI tasks. By contrast, some languages with smaller speaker populations but a richer linguistic database are better represented in AI research. With these factors in mind, the authors of the paper propose that we should evaluate low-resource languages by looking at 4 key dimensions that affect the resourceness of a language. First up, socio-political context. Economic and historical factors shape language resources, especially for languages marginalized within their countries. Many communities lack the financial means to create language resources, and in some cases, language policies prioritize dominant languages, further marginalizing others. Secondly, human and digital resources. Low-resource languages often lack essential human resources, such as linguistic experts or native speakers and digital tools. The scarcity of trained AI researchers from these communities exacerbates the issue. Third up, artifacts and infrastructure. These include curated linguistic data, computational tools, and other resources for language technology development. For many languages, even if data exists, it may lack consistency or standardization, complicating efforts to build effective language technologies such as AI models. In the case of Romanian, many existing datasets contain a significant amount of noise, with samples in Slavic languages being incorrectly labeled as Romanian, partly because of the wrong assumption that Romanian is a Slavic language since it is the language of an Eastern European country. And finally, community agency. The degree of involvement by native-speaking communities significantly impacts the creation and adoption of language tools. Technologies built without considering community needs may have minimal real-world application, limiting their effectiveness. This precise multi-factor classification of low-resource languages is crucial for developing targeted interventions. Without a clear definition, measuring progress and addressing specific needs for each language becomes nearly impossible. For example, if one language lacks community agency while another lacks linguistic data, they require different strategies to achieve technological equity. But there's another reason why this paper stood out to me. When ChatGPT exploded into the mainstream, the AI community began to debate when and how we will make the leap from foundation models to AGI. The problem was that everyone was using their own definition of AGI, so Google DeepMind, Anthropic, OpenAI, and others began publishing their views on the topic, including frameworks for classifying the capabilities of AI. These positions then converged to a relatively stable definition of AGI that allowed for society at large to move from debating the progress we're making in advancing AI to measuring it. So while low-resource languages may never fully overtake high-resource languages, we now have a clearer definition of these concepts, which hopefully will lead to faster progress, or at least a more accurate measurement of the distance between Achilles and the tortoise. And now here are this week's news. Elon Musk has stunned rivals by building a data center for xAI bigger and faster than ever before, fueling a race to supersize data centers by OpenAI and others. Two things about Musk's data center have jolted competitors: its size and the speed with which xAI built it. The compute cluster, fittingly known as Colossus, consists of 100,000 graphics processing units, the chips best suited to training and running AI software. That is several times bigger than similar supercomputers built in the past by Meta and other tech giants. So now, as the information reports, competitors are taking desperate measures to learn about Colossus, including flying airplanes above the makeshift data center to find out how it was built. Slack surveyed more than 17,000 desk workers about artificial intelligence. It found that executives have been prioritizing AI, yet excitement about AI adoption is slowing down for workers. Gen Z and millennials also reported frequently turning to AI for help, rather than colleagues or friends. Currently, many of the largest large language models, like OpenAI's GPT and Anthropic's Claude, use data centers based in the US to store data and process requests via the cloud. This has led to concern from politicians and regulators in Europe who see this dependence on US technology as harmful to the continent's competitiveness. Enter sovereign AI. The idea that AI services in a given jurisdiction should be built upon data from within that region, so results are grounded in local language and culture. Physical Intelligence, also known as PI, is a startup that aims to give robots a profound artificial intelligence upgrade. Such is the excitement and expectation around the company's dream that investors are betting hundreds of millions that it will make the next earth-shaking breakthrough in the field of AI. Physical Intelligence last week announced it had raised $400 million from investors that include OpenAI and Jeff Bezos at a valuation of over $2 billion. In new research, Harvard Business Insider explores the impact Gen AI has already had on the labor market by examining trends in demand for online freelancers. Their findings show significant short-term job replacement after these tools were introduced, and that jobs prone to automation like writing and coding were the most affected by ChatGPT. Amazon is poised to roll out its newest artificial intelligence chips as the big tech group seeks returns on its multi-billion-dollar semiconductor investments and to reduce its reliance on NVIDIA. Executives at Amazon's cloud computing division are spending big on custom chips in the hopes of boosting the efficiency inside its dozens of data centers, ultimately bringing down its own costs as well as those of AWS customers. Bayer is known for selling seeds. Now it sells seeds and artificial intelligence. Microsoft announced it is working with the German pharmaceutical and agricultural group and other companies on specialized AI models fine-tuned on industry-specific data. The companies can now list and monetize those models on Microsoft's online model catalog. According to Bloomberg, after years of pushing out increasingly sophisticated AI products at a breakneck pace, 3 of the leading AI companies are now seeing diminishing returns from their costly efforts to build newer models. OpenAI's Orion is so far not considered to be as big a step up from the company's existing models as GPT-4 was from GPT 3.5. At Google, an upcoming iteration of its Gemini software is not living up to internal expectations, according to 3 people with knowledge of the matter. Anthropic, meanwhile, has seen the timetable slip for the release of its long-awaited Claude model called 3.5 Opus. The UN isn't keen on creating an international agency to regulate the technology. At Fortune's Global Forum this Monday in New York City, the co-chair of the U.N. SAI advisory body, Carme Artigas, said the organization has been developing guiding principles for global use of AI, including a proposed AI-centric scientific panel and global fund. A technology reporter from the New York Times let generative AI take over her life. For 1 week, it told her what to eat, what to wear, and what to do with her kids. It chose her haircut and what color to paint her office. It told her husband that it was okay to go golfing, in a text that he immediately knew she had not written. When Donald Trump was last president, ChatGPT had not yet been launched. Now, as he prepares to return to the White House after defeating Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, the artificial intelligence landscape looks quite different. Time magazine summarizes the ways in which Trump will take a different approach to AI regulation compared to Biden. Most companies are starting to figure out how artificial intelligence will change the way they do business. Chegg is trying to avoid becoming its first major victim. The online education company was for many years the go-to source for students who wanted help with their homework, or a potential tool for plagiarism. The shift to virtual learning during the pandemic sent subscriptions and its stock price to record highs. Then came ChatGPT. Suddenly, students had a free alternative to the answers Chegg spent years developing with thousands of contractors in India. Instead of Chegging the solution, they began canceling their subscriptions and plugging questions into chatbots. In order to test how well AI models perform on certain tasks, companies subject them to evaluations in the form of standardized tests, known as benchmarks, that assess models' abilities and the performance of different groups' systems or older versions. However, recent advances in AI technology have meant many of the newest models have been able to get close to or above 90% accuracy on existing tests, highlighting the need for new benchmarks. Artificial intelligence companies like OpenAI are seeking to overcome unexpected delays and challenges in the pursuit of ever bigger large language models by developing training techniques that use more human-like ways for algorithms to think. A dozen AI scientists, researchers, and investors told Reuters they believe that these techniques, which are behind OpenAI's recently released o1 model, could reshape the AI arms race and have implications for the types of resources that AI companies have an insatiable demand for, from energy to types of chips. The number of people using ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence products is soaring. The rate of improvement for the basic building blocks underpinning them appears to be slowing down, though. The situation has prompted OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT, to cook up new techniques for boosting those building blocks, known as large language models, to make up for the slowdown. President-elect Donald Trump has telegraphed big changes to the nation's all-important AI strategy, many of which are expected to be implemented immediately after his inauguration in January. But while some of Trump's plans are predictable, as part of an effort to make the U.S. the world's leader in the fast-emerging technology, others are still a mystery, experts told Fortune. Thanks for watching. This is an AI-generated video readout of this week's Computer Speak newsletter. To keep up to date with the latest news in AI and other emerging technologies, subscribe to Computer Speak on Substack.